that they're playing with, chip on their shoulder that they're playing with was really noticeable. Obviously, they're a very resilient group to get back from 3-1 twice in the same year, and we're going to have to play great to beat them.
All right, bringing back NBA analyst Tim Legler. And Legs, what's the one aspect of the Nuggets that will be the most challenging for the Lakers to prepare for?
Well, the one aspect of any offensive player that you really can't game plan for is a guy's passing. His vision, his IQ, the way he reads defenses, and then his ability to execute those. And Nikola Jokic handles the ball more than any big man in the NBA. They basically run their offense through him. So you can come up with ways that you want to try to defend the Murray-Jokic pick and roll, which is really the set and formation that doomed the Clippers. You can figure out what you want to do with that in terms of trapping Murray or trying to take it out of his hands. But the bottom line is at some point, that ball is going to end up in Jokic's hands, whether it's on a pick and pop or on a dive to the middle or in the post. And his ability to pick you apart when defenders turn their heads, when he sees the double team coming from the top, his ability to throw it to any part of the court on the opposite side of the floor, his ability to throw pocket passes on high-low stuff between interiors. You just can't prepare for it. You could try to take the ball out of his hands. The question is, whose hands does it end up in, and is it going to be a great shot? Nikola Jokic has 8 games in the postseason with 6 or more assists. It's almost unheard of for a center to be that dominant in his passing game. And for me, that's the one thing that the Lakers and Frank Vogel probably has spent the most time on, trying to prepare for something that's really difficult to slow down.
And those intangibles Nuggets bring to this series, 6 wins in elimination games. That's almost unheard of as well. In Game 7's win against the Clippers, Jokic became the first player with at least 20 rebounds, 10 assists, and multiple steals and blocks in a playoff game. Leg day, always on sports.
Remember the talk. I'm getting bread, so what you thought?
3 on the way. Got it, Jimmy buckets. Another 5 minutes of play. The step back, Kemba Walker giving Boston the lead. Into traffic, got it, and one. Jimmy Butler delivering. Can they get it done at the defensive end? Blocked at the rim by Bam.
Not in my house.
The Heat win Game 1. That's why he's the heart and soul of our team, right there.
I seen a lot, did a lot.
Bam's block, a memorable end to Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. But in the second half and overtime of Game 1, it was really the Heat's interior defense that stepped up. And surprisingly, despite that block, was an area they've really struggled. During the regular season, Miami allowed the 4th highest field goal percentage on layups and dunks and the highest among teams to actually make the playoffs. And in the first half of Game 1, well, that trend appeared to be continuing. The Celtics shot 7 for 10 from the field on attempts that were near the rim. But then, as good teams tend to do, their defense found a way when it mattered the most, holding Boston to just 4 of 12 shooting on layups and dunks in the second half and OT. Tied for their 3rd lowest field goal percentage allowed on shots at the rim and a half, including overtime this season, as we say hi and hello to our NBA analyst, Tim Legler. So Bam's block, obviously the signature moment of Game 1, maybe for most Heat fans in the playoffs in general. But Jimmy Butler's been really clutch the entire playoffs as well. Who are a few other Heat players, though, that you think are contributing a lot to their success?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at the Heat, you have Jimmy Butler who takes over games late. So he has these signature moments that we're always talking about the following day. And then obviously the play that Bam Adebayo made in a critical moment saves a game. So again, that's going to get the attention. But if I were to ask most people who's leading the Miami Heat in scoring in the postseason, very few people would know that it's Goran Dragic. That's how good this guy has been. And look, he's put up better numbers at other stops in his career when he was in Phoenix in terms of scoring. I don't think Goran Dragic has ever played better than he's playing right now. And when you look at a team that's gone this deep into the postseason, and he is their primary ball handler, you cannot really overstate the importance of the decision-making that Goran Dragic has on a nightly basis. On top of it, he's shooting lights out right now. He's shooting from the 3, he's finishing inside, and he's getting a lot of help from some other role players, again, that haven't gotten a lot of attention. And one guy would be Jay Crowder. Because not only is Jay Crowder giving them that supplemental offense, and when you look at Game 1, the 2 of these guys combined for 51 points, he's not just doing that. And it seems like he burns you with a 3 every single time you want to load up on Butler or you do want to trap Dragic on pick and roll and that ball gets reversed. It ends up in the hands of Jay Crowder and he is burning you. But not only is he doing that, he's also a lot of nights asked to guard the opposing team's best perimeter player. And those are the kind of things that don't show up necessarily in highlights or when you're talking about the game the next day. play. So I wanted to give a couple of guys love that have been a big part of this Miami Heat run. They just don't necessarily have those marquee signature moments that tend to lead to conversation the following day.
I love what Jay Crowder's doing, especially against his former team, where his reputation in Boston was he can't shoot, and now he's impersonating Ray Allen. Tim Legler is actually going to come back and join us in a little bit, talk a little Lakers and Nuggets. The one thing they cannot game plan for when it comes to
Bengals haven't won a playoff game since 1990, the longest active drought in the NFL. Browns not far behind, 0 playoff victories since 94, and haven't even made the postseason since 2002. But Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, each #1 picks, Heisman Trophy winners. But are they the quarterbacks to break these playoff droughts? Joe Burrow was a missed field goal away from forcing overtime in his debut, became the 13th straight #1 pick, however, to lose their first start. Burrow failed to show off his ability to make big throws on the move in week 1. He had no completions from outside the pocket and went 1 of 5 with the pick under duress. In Kevin Stefanski's first game as head coach, the Browns scored 6 points, and Baker mustered a 33 total QBR. Mayfield still doesn't seem like he's on the same page with his top targets. 3 of 8 for 22 yards targeting Odell. It has more interceptions, 7, than touchdowns, 4, when targeting him these last 2 seasons. Here's Keyshawn Johnson addressing what the Browns should do with OBJ.
You look at the numbers from a financial standpoint and what they could possibly get back in return for somebody that's out there starving for a playmaking receiver like OBJ. If you're the San Francisco 49ers and there's a conversation to be had, you may want to have that conversation with Cleveland and see if you could kick those tires. If you're the New England Patriots, you may want to see what that is.
I don't hate that from Keyshawn Johnson. Those are a couple of teams that could use him. Let's bring in Marcus Spears to get a little more clarity on this. Moments ago, we had Schefter on saying that the Browns are not planning on trading OBJ right now, but if things don't get better as the season goes on, maybe they look to do that. Do you think, Spears, the Browns should trade him away for the right price?
For the right price, yes. I mean, that's the price of doing business. The Browns' situation is different, though. It is not OBJ that needs to be the focal point. It's their quarterback. But obviously, when you're talking about a good player, what you can get in return, here's my question, Matt, and my rebuttal to Keyshawn would be, what hasn't the Browns done? They've traded, they've signed, they've gotten players from other franchises and organizations to get better. So if you're just trying to get capital, if you're trying to get draft picks or you're trying to get another player, yeah, do it if you think you're significantly upgrading your team. But also remember, this is a 1,000-yard receiver last year in an abysmal season. So if you're in the business of getting rid of the guys that can't give you production, put you in a good situation better than the one you in, go ahead by all means and do it. OBJ need to be trying to get the hell out of there as opposed to us talking about Cleveland trying to trade him away.
And it's one game. They're 0-1. Battle of Ohio tonight. Get your first win of the season against Joe Burrow.
We've been talking. Matt, we have been talking about this since last year.
New season,
I'm not going to let you fall. I'm not going to let you fall on this 1 week sword, bro, because I hear this being thrown around a lot, okay? And look, things change in the offseason, teams transition, but you got to trust what the hell your eyes are telling you. And what your eyes are telling you about the Cleveland Browns, it's probably time for everybody to start believing that. So if changes ought to be made, hopefully it's for the greater good, and they find somebody that can operate from the pocket, i.e. Baker Mayfield.
All right, we'll see tonight. Week 2 of the 2020 season. My eyes tell me that Tom Brady wasn't great in his debut with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, of course, his coach afterwards said that it's kind of unusual to see a ball game like that because New Orleans didn't do things that we weren't ready for. So a coach commenting on his quarterback. Here's Arians commenting again on his relationship with Brady.
Yeah, Tom and I are fine, so I don't really care what other people think. So it's just what he and I think. And, we left the stadium fine. We showed up today fine, so there ain't nothing to talk about.
Since when can't coaches have an opinion on their quarterback? It's driving me nuts. What's your take on it?
Since 2020, since this new breed of player, Matt, but the bottom line is this, man. Bruce Arians and Tom Brady have been at this for a long time. They understand the dynamics of this league. And Bruce Arians out of all of his experience, I would hope that he knows when he gets on his star player, the guy that's considered the greatest to ever do it at the position in the history of the league, that is resonating with everybody else in the locker room. Coaching tactic. I played for Bill Parcells. I played for Nick Saban. You get on the star player to get everybody else to fall in line, but you also make those critiques legitimate. What he's saying is legitimate. Tom Brady is going to have to play better in order for Tampa Bay to have a successful season. That is what they signed up for. Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, the management, Byron Leftwich, all of them playing to get better based on Tom Brady signing to be their quarterback because they let Jameis Winston go because he turned the ball over too much. Now, you start the first game of the year with 2 picks. I don't have a crazy level of concern, but calling Tom Brady out on that is not a big deal. They've been at this for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if it was planned for us to talk about it, for everybody else to talk about it, and they come out firing on all cylinders. Everybody know what they're doing in Tampa Bay. Just let them do it.
Brady has never started a season 0-2 in his career.